On next Tuesday, in Jerusalem, Israel, a march will be led by the Temple Mount and Land of Israel Faithful movement towards the Temple Mount, calling for the immediate construction of the end-time Holy Third Temple on the Temple Mount. But according to IslamOnline.net, 1.4 billion Muslims would rather die. Hi, I'm Jeremy Dow. I'm a student at OCCC, and I'd like to tell you about the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, Israel. I was first interested in religious history of the Temple Mount after watching just Raiders of the Lost Ark when I was a little boy. And now I've done lots of research online, watched films, and investigated news stories. Something really interesting, though, is that no real source other than something like Wikipedia has been very unbiased. It's hard to find any research truly done by an atheist on a religious subject such as the Temple Mount. So I'd like to talk to you about the Jewish, the Muslim, and the Christian perspective of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. First, let's look at the Christian view of the Temple Mount. Christians want the temple to be rebuilt to bring about the second coming of Christ. The temple will be rebuilt, and the Antichrist will actually take up residence in the temple. As unusual as that sounds, the Christians believe that the second coming of Christ will occur after the tribulation period, in which the Antichrist actually takes up residence in the rebuilt, what they call the Third Temple, and what some refer to as the end-time Holy Third Temple. Jesus will return and destroy all the enemies of Israel, and so Christians believe that this will include all of their enemies as well, and that's what a lot of people constitute the American affiliation with Israel too, is this Christian belief that the enemies of Israel are actually our enemies as well. And at that point, after the second coming of Christ, the Jews will either have to accept Jesus or burn for all eternity for not accepting Jesus. And next we'll look at the Jewish perspective on the Temple Mount. Jews want the temple to be rebuilt to prepare for the first Messiah. The Temple Mount is the site of the Wailing Wall, which is the holiest site for Jews. They are actually not allowed to enter the Temple Mount area, which is about 35 acres, because the rabbis and the clergymen are not sure where, in fact, the actual temple was constructed. And so to avoid walking in forbidden areas that Orthodox Jews are not allowed to enter, they avoid the entire Temple Mount altogether and stay on the exterior and worship their holy Wailing Wall. The Jewish Messiah will return either before or after the construction of the Third Temple, and he will destroy all the enemies of Israel. That's really interesting that the Jewish and the Christian perspective both are consistent in the terms that this Messiah, either the first or the second, will return to destroy all the enemies of the Israel nation. And so Israel's state status was actually a large portion of getting us to the point of where we are today in the need for the temple to be rebuilt. It was a step, and the temple to be rebuilt is actually the third step for both the Jewish and the Christian faiths. According to Aaron Klein at WND.com, the World Net Daily, in 2004, a Jewish woman was resting her head while she was sitting on a bench inside the actual Temple Mount, and the Muslim authorities came and arrested her, believing that she was praying. And so that'll just give you an idea of how tense it is for anyone to practice their religion, Jewish or Christian, other than the Muslim faith that actually occupies the Temple Mount right now. And finally, we'll look at the Muslim perspective. Muslims believe Muhammad was taken to the Temple Mount by the Archangel Gabriel, where then he went up with the angel to meet his actual Lord. The Quran states that the gathering of Jews in Israel is essential to the ultimate destruction of the entire Jewish nation. And so this is very strange that even this third religion sees the Temple Mount as a key part of the destruction of all of their enemies throughout the world. and the main enemies of the Muslim people they see as the Jewish people, and so they see the coming together of the state nation of Israel and the Jews coming together around Israel as being just one part of bringing all your enemies together in one place so they can be destroyed. Muslims believe the Jewish and Christian goal is the destruction of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is what commonly Muslims refer to as what the Temple Mount is to us. And that will lead to the ultimate destruction of Israel, according to IslamOnline.net. So as you can see, the Temple Mount is a massive source of tension for many religions worldwide. I'd like you to remember and think about how the Christians want to rebuild the temple to bring in the end of days, the Jews want to rebuild the temple to bring their Messiah, and the Muslims want to protect with their lives one of their holiest sites in the world. So let me leave you with this. Yesterday, Monday, the 12th of July, according to Sevi Ben Gedaya in his article at templeinstitute.org, a huge crowd gathered to declare their allegiance to the holy site of about 10,000 people and to speak out against police discrimination against Jews and other religious faiths practicing on the Temple Mount. As everyone can see, this bomb only needs the right spark to set off a worldwide explosion. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.